Now, before we go ahead and dive into Git, I have to share this story from a student. So this was a student from one of my iPhone app courses, and his project had all sorts of issues, and he couldn't get it back to the original point that he needed. So I, had told him about Git, and he had been using it, and he kind of got excited, and he's like, "All right, now I'm doing this the right way," and was just so pumped up about it. So anyways, at the end of his message to me that he was talking about, thanks for all the help and stuff, he said, "Long live Git, hashtag Git with the Git." And so anyways, this was a guy that, was in the depths of despair and realized, wow, I really wish I had been using Git. And now his life has been changed. He's a full convert to Git. So for any of those interested, feel free to tweet hashtag Git with the Git. There's a select group of us out on Twitter that have tweeted that, so you can see the list. I'm officially the OG, the first one that tweeted it. I didn't create it. Timothy Johnson did here, but I'm the first tweet. You should go see the group is out there and join them. Anyways, so with that, Git is very important. Now, to see if you have Git on your computer, go ahead and go to your terminal and just type Git. If you do have it, you'll get something like this that it shows like the help message basically about how you can use Git. So if you went to your terminal, typed in Git, and you didn't get any of these things here, what you need to do is you need to go fire up a browser and just search install Git. And if you do this, you should see this. This is the official website for Git, git-scm. They've got a great guide on getting Git installed on your computer, whether you're on Linux, Mac, or on Windows. So the truth is that most times you're going to have Git on your computer already, but in case you don't for whatever reason, that is how you can get it. So now, quick note for my Windows users, just make sure that if you have to download that, go ahead and go to that same website, install everything, just use the defaults on all the installation process, but make sure that you close out of the command prompt, and then when you're ready, open it back up, and then go ahead and type Git. If you see something like this, some helpful text, you'll realize, okay, now Git's installed and you're ready to move forward. With Git, the first thing that we have to do is, let's say we have an existing project, right? Like we have, let me go ahead and move into my desktop here, and look, there's my word count project. So I'm going to CD into that word count project. And now I'm here, right? So this has got all the information, that manage.py, the templates, the word count, all those things. So what I need to do to start a Git project is inside of this folder, I'm going to type Git space init. That's short for initialization. And this basically turns this project into a Git project. So if I go ahead and hit enter on this, it'll go ahead and do that. And to see if that all worked correctly, go ahead and type Git status, just like this, and you should see some information about saying, oh, you've got some untracked files, which basically means you have some code that hasn't been committed yet. We're going to talk about commits, but if you don't see that, that means you haven't gotten Git installed properly. But if you do see this, this means you're on the right track. So the basic idea with Git is that you have code that you're working on, and anytime you make a change, you can add those changes into something called a commit, which, like I said before, is sort of like a save point in your code. And you can have save points for whatever reason you want, but it's a nice way to sort of track your progress over time. So for the very first time that we make our project into a Git repository, that's the term, you turn like a directory into a repository. What you want to do is you need to add all your files into your very first commit. So the way to do that is you type git space add space dash, and then you need a capital A. This basically says any changes that I have, add them into this new commit. It doesn't commit it yet, but it gets them ready to. It means that they're tracked or staged. And so we're going to do this git add dash capital A, hit enter on that. Now if you do a get status like this, you should see all these new files that are ready to be committed. So you can see it there, changes to be committed. So once you have this, you can go ahead and do a commit. So you need to type out git space commit dash m space, and then inside of double quotes, give some commit message here. That's what this dash m is. So you're saying, I'm making a new commit and I'm giving it a message of, and then inside of your double quotes, you say something like, this is my first commit. Now, it can be very tempting to use an exclamation point here, but by default, that's not going to work. If you feel the need to have an exclamation point, you can put a backslash in front of that and that will sort of help you out. But whatever your message is, go ahead and put that in and then hit enter. And then it adds all of that code into a commit. So now if you go ahead and say git space status, you'll notice there's no changes, nothing to commit here. It's just everything was in that last commit. But for example, so this is where Git is very, very cool. Let's go to one of my files here and I say, you know what? On the about page, I don't really like that about is in an H1 tag. I'm going to change it to like an H2 tag. So really small change here. I basically just said, you know, that line instead of H1 should be H2. If I save that file and come back and do another git status, Git noticed that I made a change to one of my files and said, oh, it looks like you've modified your templates/about.html file. So if we wanted to add this to our own to another commit, we'd say git add-a, that adds all the files, and then we can do a git status, make sure that's ready to be committed, and look at that, there it is, it's in green now. So then we can say git commit-m, provide a message, and I say H1 to H2. That's maybe, you know, in summary, the change that I made there, right? There's nothing special about what you need to type in there. It's whatever you think appropriately describes what your commit was about. So I'll go ahead and hit enter there. And look at that. We've had one file changed. We added a line, but we also removed one. That's essentially, you know, we changed one line in the end. But that's another commit now in our Git project. So Git, anytime you make changes, you can add those into a new commit and again, make those save points in your code. So to really visualize this, because doing this in the terminal is kind of hard to see, I recommend a program called Git Kraken. So Git Kraken, just like that. This essentially does all the same things that we did before, but you can do it in a visual way. And this works for Windows, Mac, Linux, all the platforms there. The legendary Git GUI client for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I'm doing like a free commercial for these guys. But anyways, it's really awesome to kind of visualize the way things are happening here. I'm trying to just see a screenshot of this thing and it's not showing up. Well, maybe I'll just show you on my own computer. So I'll fire up Git Kraken here. You don't have to get Git Kraken, but I think it kind of just helps visually to see what's going on here. So I'll go ahead and show you. We're also going to get to see what this looks like on GitHub. But I thought you might want to see this as well. So while this is loading up, go ahead and go to, let me bring back my browser, go to github.com. And github.com is a website where you can upload your Git repositories and they'll sort of store the code for you. It's a great way if you're working with multiple people to get their help. So go ahead and actually create a username and account for this if you don't have one yet. If you do have one, just, you know, log in. But go ahead, hit pause on the video and sign up for GitHub right now. Okay, so hopefully that went well for you. You now have a GitHub account. I'm going to come back for a second and show you what Git Kraken looks like. So let's see, licensing here, blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to see the stuff. I'm just using this for hobbies. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to cancel out of that first window. I'm going to say I want to open a repo and waiting for this open dialog to show up for us. Come on, Git Kraken. Well, again, we're going to have to wait for this guy to fire up. Sometimes these cross-platform desktop applications aren't all that quick with their stuff. It's nice that it's on every platform, but it can be frustrating. So let's go ahead and open a new repo. So I'm going to open a repository. Let's get to my desktop. There's that word count project and I'll hit open on that. So here you can see I've got my two commits. There was my first commit. And then we have H1 to H2 inside of there, right? And so for example, in this H1 to H2, I can see, oh, it changed this file and it shows you, oh, we got rid of the line that said H1 and changed it to H2. So it's kind of weird terminology that it says we got rid of one line and added another. All we did was change one, but it essentially said is as if you got rid of this and added that one. But it's kind of cool that you can track your individual changes here. You can imagine as we go through a project, it's cool to see all those different things. So here inside of GitKraken, right, like let's say we make another change. I'm going to add some new stuff down here, like copyright 2018 or something like that. No, let's go into the future. I'm going to be 2019 because maybe you're watching this video in 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then let's go back to GitKraken here, and we notice up here at the top, hey, there were some changes inside of this template/about. We added these 2 lines here. So what we're going to do, this is unstaged, so we're going to move this into the staged. Apparently it doesn't do click drag, so I think you just hit that button to say stage that. There's also, if you have a lot of changes, you can say stage all. But then once you have that, your commit message here, you could say I added copyright like that, and you commit that one change, and boom, now you can see there's another commit. And so we've got each of our commits here. You can move back in time if you want to with GitKraken. Just it's nice, I think, to visually see this if you don't prefer doing the terminal side of things. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is how you can upload your project to GitHub. That's what I'm going to be doing for this course. If you ever want to see the source code for any one of my projects, you can get them on my GitHub page. And so I'm going to go ahead and sign in, and then I'll join you after that. All right, so once you've made it to the logged in page of GitHub, we need to go over here and create a new repository. You can also do the plus up there, but we're going to make a new repository. I really recommend naming this the same name as your folder. So for example, ours on the desktop here, go ahead and open that, is word count -project. So I'll copy that, paste it in there. You can give a description if you want to. I don't really care for that. So with this, I'm going to say create repository. And then there's some awesome instructions about how we can add our project up here to GitHub. So it's going to say if you need to create a repository initially, it's going to take you through that Git init, and they suggest you add like a README, do your first commit, and then push it on up. But for us, we really just need those last 2 lines where we add a remote origin. So a remote is like a place that you're saving your code. And so we're adding github.com/zappycode. Your name is going to be different from ZappyCode, right? But a place that you can save your code, and then we're going to push that code up to the master. So for example, let's just go back to our project here. Let me do a git status. Okay, we're clean, got nothing going on here. So we're going to copy this line, paste that in. And then we're also going to do this get push -u origin master. Go ahead and plop that in. Okay, so when you run this for the first time, if you've never used Git before, you're going to have to enter in what your username is or your name is and your email. And so if you need any help at all with that, GitHub has some documentation, but you could also just Google git add name and email. I forget the terms for this. Again, as a programmer, you don't have to have everything memorized here. Let's check out what we've got here. Yes, so this is what you want to do. You want to type in your terminal git config --global user.name, and then I did like Nick Walter, and then git config blah blah blah. I did like the same email address that I used for GitHub. So anyways, you got to get those 2 things in to be able to do that push stuff. But if you've done that successfully, right, everything went okay here on the terminal, you reload this page, and dun, da, 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 look at this. We have all our code right here. So you can see here's the 3 commits that we made. If I want to check out what that copyright commit was like, it's like, oh, you added those 2 lines. Okay, I see how that works, and you can dive into any file that is that you want, and it's cool. You can share this website with anyone else so they can go ahead and get your project, download it, check it out, whatever it is that you want. Now, if you're not a fan of having your code out to the public for everyone to see, GitHub has a private mode that's like $7 a month. Also, you can use, there's tons of places that host Git repos, but Bitbucket is one that I'm a big fan of. I think they have a really good tool. It's not as user-friendly, I think, as GitHub, but you can have those private repositories for free. So that's why I'm definitely a big advocate for them. And their website's not loading. Oh, there we go. But you decide how it is that you want to handle that. But hopefully you enjoyed learning about this. Got a few thoughts, but I'm going to save those for the outro.